There have been a lot of conversations as to whether it's a good idea or not for students to have their cell phones in the classroom. Stay with us for some interesting takes on this topic coming up on this episode of The Issues. I'm Sarah Bernard, and thanks for staying with us. According to the stateline.org website, more than 3/4 of U.S. public schools, grades K through 12, prohibit non-academic cell phone use in the classroom. The question is, should all schools restrict students from using cell phones in the classroom? I've heard from many teachers complaining about this issue regarding the problems that they can cause. We're going to listen to what some students have to say about this issue, but first, let's hear from a former counselor who is now a licensed professional counselor, Brooke Kerbel.
I feel like cell phones can be really impactful and helpful for learning. We know it opens up a world of possibilities for students and the resources that are available to them. However, it can also be a major distraction for students and staff in the regard that it's not allowing for mindful learning all the time. Students tend to be distracted. They are focused on whatever's going on their phone rather than the learning experience in front of them. And so I think my main focus is we're not creating mindful students and we're not facilitating mindful learning if we're allowing them frequently in the classroom. I counseled students in schools for about 5 years in various educational settings. I was in behavioral and emotional schools, more therapeutic-based school environments, and then was actually in a local public school as well. And I stopped because they stopped creating positions like mine and focusing in mental health and well-being of students. Those tend to get cut, we know, as things have to be adjusted and budgeted for. I counseled students about the cell phones in class from the perspective of figuring out the root of the issue and why we were on our phones in class. It was not my job to be a disciplinarian. I wasn't a principal, I wasn't admin, anything like that. It was my role when we were talking about cell phones to talk about what was distracting us the most in the classroom or what behavior was being facilitated by being on a cell phone in the classroom. I feel like this issue with cell phones in the classroom can be resolved by providing students the opportunity to build relationships outside of technology. So whether that be through one-on-one activities, whether that be through group activities. I also feel like it comes with teachers and educators being trained on how best to use technology to engage and excite their students in the classroom. The same way people don't want cell phones at the table for dinner, I think we need to be present in the classroom and be aware in the classroom.
Thank you, Brooke. Those were some very interesting points. Now it's time to hear what some of our students think about this issue. So I'm going to start with you guys and have you tell me your first names and the grade that you're going to be in school this fall.
My name is Fallon, and I will be going into the 6th grade.
Okay.
My name is Dallas. I'm going to the 9th grade.
Okay, Dallas in the 9th grade, Fallon going into 6th grade.
My name is Marcia, and I'm going to 7th grade.
In 7th grade, Marcia. Okay, so you guys are all at the perfect ages. You've had your phones. You all use your phones every day, is that right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the age that you first got your first phone? Marcia, let's start with you.
I think I was 8 or 9.
8 or 9 when you got your first phone. Okay, Dallas?
I was 11.
You were 11 years old, okay.
I was either 8 or 9.
8 or 9, okay. So you guys, so you've all had your phones for a couple of years. And would you say that you use your phones for primarily calling your parents and friends, texting? Tell us a little bit how you use your phones. Marcia?
So I use them to call my friends and text, but most of the time I use it to watch videos or play games.
Okay, so you use it for more than just communication. Dallas, what about you?
Yeah, I use it I use to text my parents, my friends, to call people, watch videos, and then I'll use it for school sometimes.
Use it for school in what way?
I'll use it for a calculator.
Okay.
Or if I don't know an answer, I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, so you're gonna look up, use it for a research tool and calculator. Okay, yeah. What about you, Fallon?
I usually use it for communicating, and I also play games or watch videos on it.
Okay, so would you guys say that 100% of your friends that you hang out with the most have a phone, or is there anyone that you know that doesn't have a phone yet?
Most of my friends have phones.
Most? All, would you say?
Yeah,
Do you know anyone who doesn't?
I don't think so.
No? What about you, Dallas?
Yeah, they all got phones.
Everybody has a phone?
Yes.
Fallon?
All of my friends have phones.
Okay. Do you guys remember what it was like to not have a phone? I know it was a long time ago.
I used my iPad
Okay.
when I was younger, and it was basically the exact same thing, except the phone was easier and more portable.
Do you remember life before age 11 and when you didn't have a phone?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was like more simpler. It was easier
Okay.
because like I didn't have to worry about a whole bunch of drama and stuff like I got to do now.
Okay, interesting. We're going to come back to that in a second. Marcia, what about you? Do you remember life before a phone?
I play with like toys or like maybe go outside.
So, and you told me before we were on camera that you sometimes today still will go outside and play and leave your phone inside. And do you
Yeah.
enjoy that time?
Yeah.
Okay. So Dallas, let's talk about the drama. So I think that's a really interesting comment. What kind of drama do you see happening because of phones?
Like people be fighting, they be arguing over petty stuff.
Texting?
Yeah, they
Okay.
be texting, calling, they be posting about it. It mostly be about like fights and stuff.
Okay, do you ever see actual fights break out at
Yeah.
school because of phones, related to phones?
Yes.
Can you describe what that's like?
Well, I was in one, so like it's kind of like bad because it could be over to like the smallest thing, and then it could turn to a big old escalation.
So how does that happen? So you said you were in a fight, an actual physical fight that started on a phone.
Yeah.
So was it a text communication that went bad? What happened?
So I had got text out of nowhere, and basically I was accused of talking to this female or something
Okay.
because someone had like a fake account.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's wrong with phones. Not like people be making fake accounts and stuff. They be starting drama for no reason.
Okay, so someone had, if I understand this, was a fake account on social media,
Yeah.
and someone accused you of talking to a girl, and you hadn't, and it became a fight. Do you think that had there not been any phones in the picture, like life before phones, that would have happened?
No.
Would not have happened, because you have to actually talk to people.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you guys think about phones at school? Do you ever leave your phones at home or in your locker?
Sometimes I leave them at home, but like most of the time we're at school, they make us leave it in our backpacks.
Okay, do you ever hear phones ringing in the classroom?
Yeah.
You do sometimes. Is it a distraction?
Sometimes.
Yeah. And you're supposed to have your phone on silent, I would imagine? Okay. Dallas, what about you? Do you ever leave yours in the locker?
I leave my phone in my book bag all the time.
You leave your phone what?
In my book bag.
In your book bag. So you're carrying it with you, but it's in your backpack?
Yeah.
Okay. Do your parents ever by mistake call you guys or text you during the school day?
No.
No? Okay. No? Okay. Good. What about you, Fallon? Do you leave your phone in your locker?
Yeah, my school makes us leave it in our lockers, and sometimes accidentally we'll leave it in our backpacks, and then it'll ring or someone will text them, and then it'll be a distraction, and everyone will be like, ooh, who left their phone in their backpack?
Yeah. And it's, people forget about them, right? You forget you have it. Let's talk about phone use at home and your parents, your siblings. Do you ever find it's a distraction or a problem at home, the phone use in the family?
Sometimes, because like they have it like really loud.
Okay.
And then like I can't like focus on what I was doing.
You can't focus on what you're doing because are they talking in their phone loudly, or is the phone?
The volume is just like loud.
Okay, so it's just a distraction as if it's a TV on or a radio or something like that. Okay, what about you at your home, Dallas?
We don't struggle with much of like phone problems at the house because like we mostly all be like in our own areas.
Okay.
So yeah, we really don't struggle with phone problems.
Does anyone in your family ever have a phone out at the dinner table? Do you have any rules about that in your family?
No.
So no, you don't have rules, or no, phones aren't out?
We don't have no. Well, we mostly don't sit at the dinner table. we might go sit in the living room and watch a movie or something. while we
Okay.
eating.
Okay, so you're doing more dinner with a movie, that kind of thing. So no one's looking at their phone anyway. Okay, what about you, Fallon? What about phones at home?
Well, me and my mother are the only ones that actually have our phones. So it is kind of a problem with my mom because I'll try to talk to her, or we'll try to watch a movie or something and she'll be like on her phone calling her friend or something, or on social media. And also whenever I'm on my phone, sometimes I just get distracted and I don't do things the right way. So it is kind of a distraction at our home.
Do you guys ever think about saying, hey, let's have a new family rule, let's try to put our phones away during movie time or during dinner time? Would that be something you would think about doing, or is that too bold?
I would like to do that, especially during movie time, because during movie time, if she's on social media, then the volume will be up, and then me and my brother have to try and hear over the movie, and then also we try to have quality time with my mom while watching the movie, and then she'll just be on her phone.
Oh, okay, so mom's busted. Okay, so have some rules. Maybe you could say, hey, let's try some new family rules. Yeah, and then you both have to do it, right? And then your brother, he's little?
Yes.
So when he gets older, rules apply to him as well, right? So what about you? Do you feel like it would be appropriate to initiate rules at your family home?
Yeah, it'd be appropriate to initiate rules, but like when we sit down and watch a movie, like to eat, we all must leave our phones like on the charger or something, out of reach.
Okay.
And then we'll just sit down and watch the movie. We might talk about the movie after, go clean up our plates and stuff, and then that's mostly it. Then we go back to our areas and stuff.
When your family's together, typically everyone has their phones away anyway,
Yeah.
so not a huge problem.
No.
Okay. What about you, Marcia?
I think like during movie times, like if you have your phone out, like the volume sometimes it will be up and then like it'd be loud, and like it'd just be distracting because then your attention will be on the phone and not on the movie.
So you feel a family rule would be good? Okay, very good. I think you guys should all go home and talk about this at home tonight. But if you could think of one solution to get rid of any problems associated with phone use, what would your suggestion be?
They can like up the age for getting like on social media apps and stuff.
Okay, so you have to be older to be on social media, would you say? Increase
Yeah.
the age, is that what you're saying?
You know, some of them. But like people be lying about their age sometimes.
Right.
So like they can have like a better system to check like their actual age.
Okay,
Yeah, cause like some kids they put their age above 18. Like I could say you gotta put your ID information down or something.
Okay.
So you can get your actual date and stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. So a way to restrict use under a certain age and be a little bit more careful about identification and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Anybody think of anything else? Marcia?
So like when people like text and stuff, I feel like they can monitor like what they can say, because like some apps like they have restrictions on like what you can say.
Okay, so restricting the language they can use and what they can actually say, so maybe it's not as negative. Is that what you're thinking? Any thoughts, Fallon?
I was gonna say that unless you friend someone like on social media or something, then maybe they shouldn't be able to comment on your post or do anything to somehow find a way
So
to
get
comment.
rid of the post commenting.
Well, for people who aren't like, you can friend them on
Okay.
some social media platforms.
Okay.
So if you friend them, then they could comment on your stuff.
Okay, these are really great ideas. You guys, thank you so much, and keep coming up with ideas as you get older, because it's important. You're going to be contributing to our society in a really positive way. All right, so thank you so much for joining us, you guys. And when we return, we're going to hear from a father and a couple of professionals who have thoughts on this topic as well. We'll be right back.
Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted.
Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, today's topic is cell phone use in the classroom. We've heard from a few students, and let's hear now from a parent and a couple of professionals who deal with this every day. And you guys, I'm going to let you talk about your professions and how you're involved. Terrence, you're here as a parent.
Yes.
And but you're all parents, as am I. Yes. So we've all experienced this topic, not just cell phone use in the classroom, but at home and the family and our kids, and what age do we allow phones and that kind of thing. So Andy, let's start with you, and why don't you introduce yourself and what your current role is?
So my name is Andy Slaughter. I am a 6th grade social studies teacher at Pacific Intermediate, and I'm also a board member for the National Education Association.
All right, very good. So 6th grade, so you are really dealing with this, the beginning of it, seeing a lot. Okay, we're going to come back to that. Sarah?
My name is Sarah Patterson-Mills, and I am a clinical professor and a school counseling professor in the Human Services Department at Lindenwood University, and former department head. So I've seen some of this in practice as well as a school counselor and as a clinician.
Yes, we'll talk more about that. And a parent. Yeah, I mean, that's where it all starts,
That's
right,
true.
Terrence?
My name is Terrence Cochran. I am a senior material handler for a pharmaceutical company. I'm a parent of a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old, so yeah.
So you're seeing, and you're going to speak about just what it's like at home and how we introduce our kids to phone use and appropriate phone use and all of that. So Andy, let's start with you. So you've got 6th graders every day. How much of an issue is cell phone use in your classroom?
So right now it is actually not, because we have gone to one of those systems where they're allowed to keep it in their backpack. Now, I taught before that happened, and it was a significant issue. Right now, most of the issues we see are outside of school that get brought into school over social media apps on the cell phone, Snapchat, YouTube, Facebook.
And that's exactly one of our students, just before this section, was talking about, is the drama that can start on phones that goes out into the school setting. Have you seen actual fights break out in your school? I mean, 6th grade, I don't know how much that's going on, but...
yes, I mean, you're going to see some fights. You're going to see things where police are having to be brought in because of things that happen. They're sent, inappropriate things that are sent from student to student. All that happens even in kids as young as 10, 11, 12 years old.
So, and you said that it used to be a bigger problem in your school or in your classroom when kids were allowed to have phones on their desk?
Yeah, far more when there was less enforcement of our policies.
Okay.
And when you have a strong enforcement of those policies, we see a lot less issues with the phone.
Okay.
But everybody has to be on board.
Yeah, exactly. And we're even seeing some states now have rules and laws about cell phone use in schools, which is maybe helpful, I would think, at some level. Sarah, let's talk about, from a counseling perspective, what are you seeing in terms of phone use among children and teenagers, and how that's contributing to social issues that they're experiencing?
So we're seeing that, in approximately 20% of our adolescents, they are being bullied online to the extent where they avoid going to school, period. Some of our older adolescents. We're also seeing increases at certain critical developmental stages, such as 6th to 9th grade, particularly in our young girls who may be more at risk. We don't have enough longitudinal data yet. They're still gathering that data. But that can put them in high school at a higher risk for more depressive and anxiety symptoms. So that can lead to more adult onset anxiety disorder and depressive disorders.
And are you all seeing, from an education standpoint, that phone abuse is more gender driven? I'm just curious. I don't know what the data shows.
I think what I have taken away from the data is that for social media apps, girls are at higher risk at that critical developmental stage. That's really all the data we have. They really need to be more individual studies on individual differences and longitudinal studies, because we have digital natives, people who were born into technology, but we are still trying to understand how that materializes and manifests later in life. Also, how young you start someone. So our younger children, 3 and under, really do not benefit at all from any type of social media. If you look at American Pediatrics Association and American Psychological Association, that recommendations are pretty strict for those younger folks too. Just in even understanding expression, nonverbals, and how to relate and interact with others. If they're looking at a screen, they're not getting that.
So you see more and more toddlers with screens.
Correct.
In restaurants or in their stroller. Is there any research on that that you're aware of?
I think some of it, and I'll let, from some of your research also, you may have something to say from that, but the COVID era, when we had masks, did really impact and has caused a lot of significant speech delays. We're seeing an increase in speech disorders. And so it's really related to them not being able to see a big person make the word, express, and also the intonation was muffled with that mask. Similarly, teachers couldn't always read what little people, the little ones were saying and their intonations. And so that did delay some speech, but also it affects the way we understand emotion and how we relate to each other. It can impact that.
And then related to screen use, also are we finding there's delays in maybe their verbal skills, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing, if you go back, you'll hear a politician here or there say, well, these failing schools in Missouri. Test scores have gone down in Missouri, they've gone down in the United States, and they've gone down globally. And that predated the pandemic. It goes back to 2012, when most developed countries started, the majority of the children started having cell phones and screens at younger and younger ages. Even nations like Norway and Finland, who are long the leaders in education, have seen a massive plummet because most of their kids get cell phones in first and second grade.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. So young, and we're going to see that here, I would imagine, in just a few years. So Terrence, from a parent perspective, let's talk about your experience. When did your kids, your teenagers, first get phones, and was that a difficult decision for you to give them one?
We started getting them phones like around 10, 11. But what I see as far as usage, everything's an excuse, The technology that they put in these phones is so convenient.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a drug. I take the phones away, things get done. I give the phones back, things slow down. So it's kind of, I'm riding a fence on this, but yeah, that's kind of what I see.
Did you put any restrictions on your kids' use of phones?
I'm a single father, so I know they want to do things. So that phone is everything to them. I take that phone and the whole house gets clean.
So you have to earn the phone use.
Right. So when I give them the phone, then I'm doing the cleaning because they're distracted. So yeah, it's a fine line. So
yeah. Sarah, were you going to comment on something?
There's some studies that have actually suggested that it is a clinical dependence that these kids have, to their phones.
I agree.
And it rewires every time they get a like, their dopamine in the brain goes up.
Yeah.
And they're calling the cell phones super peers because they are so reinforcing that it is becoming almost addictive. And some kids, when you take it away, they get very upset.
Get rebellious, I get those rebellious things, but I say,
Anxious.
remember this. You bring this up and then, okay,
It really is the cigarettes of our day.
Yeah, that's right. And so you've got at home a 5th grader and a 2nd grader.
Yes.
And what's your thinking as a parent about when they will be getting phones?
I've already been hit up by my going into 5th grader because in 4th grade he's like, Dad, when am I getting a cell phone? When am I going to get a cell phone? Most of my friends have cell phones. And you get that peer pressure from the other kids. And as a parent, then you're like, well, I don't want my kid to be the only one without a cell phone. So we are actually contemplating getting him one this year in 5th grade just to use at the house. He wouldn't be able to take it to school, but that is my wife and I's kind of compromise with him whether he can have a cell phone to communicate with his friends.
Yeah, and what about you? So you've got a young one as well.
I have an entering 7th grader and then 2 in college. And the 2 in college, we started, I was a single parent with them, and we started F2F time because that was in the back in the day, face-to-face time. And so we would turn off TV and other devices like that. I think it's important to, and at dinner we do, definitely turn our phones off. But it is increasingly hard to get off of those devices for the middle schooler because you know, we don't live very close to some of her friends, and the society we live in isn't as safe as it was when we were growing up. And so the way that they're able to interact a lot of time is through the phone. But we do try to be intentional about times when the phone is not on. And I think you have to and also reinforce that. And if you do that at home, then it translates to school as well.
So have you all heard anything, especially at the education level, a trend towards the phones without apps at all? So college students like kind of challenging their peers to have phones only for the use of texting and phoning and not for any social media. Have you heard of this trend?
Definitely
No,
not.
I'll have to ask my daughters about that.
So it's a challenge, and I think, and I don't know all the details on it, so I won't go into it now, but
Kind of
it's
like an ice bucket challenge.
Yeah.
But
kind of, yeah, and it's like, try to live
turkey.
without it, because the trend towards more socializing and less phone use.
Well, in our research that we've done, I can tell you that students do realize it's a problem. Like, they know it's distracting, they know it causes behavior issues. So they're self-aware, and it'd be nice if some of adults would actually be self-aware enough to drop it as well, but.
And, you know, Terrence, as a parent, do you talk to your kids about, you know, like we were talking in the show earlier about asking the kids for what they would like to see in terms of restrictions? Is that something you feel like you could talk to your kids about? Like, and
definitely.
would you, you know, because kids do have ideas and they do find it to be a distraction, and do we ask enough of them? What solutions do they have to make their lives easier?
Higher allowance. That's the main thing. Incentives. I'm good at incentives. If you do this, I'll do this for you. So that's the most that I get out of my kids. They're due for this. You know, so,
I think that's just how it works with parents and kids.
Yeah.
That probably goes back centuries.
Right.
They have to earn their privileges and vice versa. So anything else? We've just got a minute left on what your suggestions might be to our community, our viewers who might be struggling with this at home. Andy, any thoughts?
Just be consistent in how you apply it. You know, if you're going to take them away. Take them away when you say you're going to do it, and that's the way it works in schools. If we have one teacher that doesn't and another teacher that does, then the whole system breaks.
Yeah,
So,
and I think there's something to be said for that, because I've heard teenagers say about other things, not just phones. If my parents had they warned me they would do this if I got home late, but I got home 5 minutes late, they didn't give me the consequence. If they had just given me the consequence, I would have gotten better. So I think that's, to your point, like, just follow through on what we are telling our kids. Sarah, any other thoughts?
I think, too, we have to learn how to coexist a little bit with this technology. And so one of the things that I'm trying to impart with my own children is, you know, when you're getting information, consider the context. You know, consider the subcontext, consider the sources, who's commenting on that, and so really kind of getting them to critically think about collaborating with multiple sources, making sure that they're using those critical analytical thinking skills when they're going through information, because even to write a paper, they could Google something and it could pop up all kinds of things. And so really we have to help them understand too, what is credible. And how are you going to determine that's credible? So I think that's really an important skill we can work on.
Good point, Terrence. Any last thought for the parents out there?
I would just suggest stick to your guns. I'm guilty of this. I would take the phone and say, well, you're not going to get this phone 2 weeks. Oh, he would act good for 2 days. Oh, okay, well, you can do that.
So be careful, Like, maybe don't be extreme in our punishment, but also, I get it.
Stick to your guns.
That's right, in all things, not just phone use. So very good. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your thoughts and comments and your input. It's just so helpful and important right now. Today's topic has been very intriguing conversation among our students and our adults. And remember that you too can join the discussion. Log on to Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, or download our app on Roku, Apple TV, or on Fire TV as well. Be sure to tune into our next edition of The Issues, where we'll have another informative topic that you would like to learn more about, I am sure. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sarah Bernard.